Last year, we had Amon-Ra St. Brown. A couple years back, we had A.J. Brown. Seems like every year now, we get a league-winning rookie wide receiver. We're going to talk about three guys at the end of this video that are rookies. So we're going to get to some veterans at the very beginning, but I'm very excited about the rookies. Before we get into it, though, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. And down there in that comment section, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, you can get into weekly best ball drafts with us. We did over 700 drafts on the live stream this year. And also, you can check out all these cool player props available in damn near every state. And when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Essentially free to check out. And also, only with promo code FLOCK were we able to get y'all this. I'm so proud. A free Patrick Mahomes bet for Sunday. That's going to be a very fun game against the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. Be pretty nice if you sign up for Underdog and be able to bet the more than half a passing yard on Patrick Mahomes this week. That's only with promo code FLOCK. I think that should be about it. Let's go through. Let's dive into the wide receivers, starting off with a veteran that came back from injury, Hollywood Brown. Now with Hollywood Brown, I mean, obviously, the main thing is, how much did he actually play? Because we were told that Hollywood would be on a snap count. What I kind of said is, you got no Rondale Moore. You have no Greg Dortch. Do you even have the option to put Hollywood Brown on that snap count? And the answer was clearly no. Hollywood Brown played more snaps than DeAndre Hopkins. Hollywood played 63 snaps compared to DeAndre Hopkins at 48. Now, keep in mind, routes run, the difference between these two wide receivers were only 3. Pretty much, you're going to get Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins playing every drop back for Kyler Murray in this offense going forward. But that's very exciting for Hollywood Brown owners. And now that he is a wide receiver, you can confidently start on a week-to-week basis. He's a wide receiver that probably slides in to be a mid-wide receiver too. If we look at the volume that he had earlier this year, I mean, week 1, 6 targets. After that, 11 targets, 17 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets. He's not going to see that kind of volume with Hollywood Brown in this offense. I think he does come back down to about 7 to 8 targets a game, but with the defensive attention that DeAndre Hopkins will take, I think the efficiency will go up for Hollywood Brown. So the volume comes down, the efficiency goes up. I still think he's a slightly worse option than he was previously this season because obviously we have DeAndre Hopkins in here and I think the volume does fall a decent amount. But at the same time, if we have Zach Ertz out for the season and Trey McBride not stepping up, if we have Rondale Moore banged up, if you have Greg Dortch banged up, pretty damn good spot for Hollywood. But now going down to our next wide receiver, also back from his own injury, Keenan Allen looks like someone that we no longer have to worry about with the hamstring. Keenan Allen ran 49 out of 52 potential routes this week. And if we look at how Keenan Allen's used in this offense, Keenan Allen is going to be the guy moving the chains. Keenan Allen is going to be that target underneath for Justin Herbert. So I think Keenan is a wide receiver that you're primarily excited about if you're playing in a full PPR format where you can just rack up a ridiculous amount of receptions and you can get there with the elite fantasy ceiling that way. And you don't need a ton of touchdown upside because we can admit that if you go back and look at Keenan Allen pretty much throughout his entire NFL career, this is a player that the touchdown upside isn't really consistently there. I mean, you are more so chasing the volume. He scores the touchdown this past week, but that's not necessarily something we can guarantee is going to happen going forward. I think you should be very excited about Keenan Allen now that he's fully back in and fully healthy. I think you should view him as a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. So you'll see him in our rankings this week. But dropping down to another veteran, someone that I swear headlines this video every week. I don't know how much higher we can move him. But Amari Cooper is surging right now. Back-to-back games with 12 targets for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's averaged 100 receiving yards per game over the past 2. Amari Cooper's had 2 touchdowns over the past 2 games. Back-to-back phenomenal weeks here for Amari. You're getting Deshaun Watson coming in. This is my favorite stat with Deshaun Watson, that from an adjusted yards per pass attempt standpoint, his career average would have made him a top 3 quarterback in the NFL last season. Deshaun Watson's floor and ceiling throughout his entire NFL career has had him, as a top 5, 6 QB. He is going to be gasoline on this fire for Amari Cooper. Not only is Watson going to help him out, but he has the best fantasy football playoff schedule among all wide receivers. I don't know how much higher we could be with Amari, But going over to our next guy, DK Metcalf, I want to give him a shout out because DK's been seeing a lot of target volume. I mean, in the middle of the season, you had some down games. You had, a game with 8 targets, 7 targets, 2 targets. At the beginning of the year, you had a game with 6 targets, 7 targets, but the man had 15 targets this past week. With DK Metcalf, I understand, yes, it was a shootout game going up against the Raiders. A whopping 74 points scored in this contest. That's not going to happen every week. There's no way that happens every week. But with Metcalf, I think we can look at a large enough sample now of Geno Smith and a large enough sample of Russell Wilson to say he doesn't really have a downgrade at quarterback from what he's had previous seasons. With DK Metcalf, he's been getting the target volume as well. He could have had an even bigger day this past week than his 20 fantasy points that he gave you. I think you should be very excited. Now, our next guy, Chris Godwin. With Godwin, we've been talking about it all season. A buy low wide receiver all season. When volume is there, points will come when the talent exists. Godwin's very talented, so when you see him get 12 targets, 13 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets, 8 targets, you know fantasy production is coming. We were saying earlier in the season when he didn't have a touchdown through the first 50 targets, that was just a small sample. That was just random variance. That going forward, Godwin would still be that low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. Over the past 2 weeks, Godwin scored a touchdown in both games. Over the past 2 weeks, Chris Godwin has had over 20 targets. He's had 18 receptions. Dear God, Godwin is very exciting. Now, our next guy, here's where we're going to dip into the rookies. Starting off with Treylon Burks. With Treylon Burks, this game against the Cincinnati Bengals, not a great matchup. We know that Tennessee, they don't want to throw the ball. Against Cincinnati, they only score 16 points. But Treylon Burks just cements himself in this offense as the wide receiver 1. This is back-to-back weeks where Treylon Burks is leading this wide receiver core in receiving. He's had 180 receiving yards over the past 2. With Treylon Burks, he's had the talent, and the issue is going to be the overall offensive volume we find in Tennessee. If we see the Tennessee Titans get into some shootout games where they have to go away from their team identity, where maybe they are actually forced to be in a position where they are going to end up having to throw the ball. Now, who knows if this is actually ever going to happen? We're just kind of speculating that maybe at some point here, they will be forced to throw. Treylon Burks is going to be the main guy that they're going to. Treylon Burks looks like he's going to be the main beneficiary if that does ever happen. He's a wide receiver that was a phenomenal prospect that got injured on early in his rookie season. So you're going to assume that he starts very slow, but with the fact that he has cemented himself as the wide receiver 1, he has the talent profile we're looking for. I think if the offensive scheme changes or if they get out of rhythm just a bit, he may end up being someone you can put in your starting lineup. Now, going down to our next guy, we are going to have Garrett Wilson. The offense being led by Mike White, obviously, it looks like it's turning around. If you look at what we've had from a per game standpoint of Zach Wilson this season and compare it with what we just got with Mike White looks like a clear upgrade. Now, of course, this is a small sample, but we've kind of understood, and by we, everybody, that the Jets have a good roster. If we looked at how the defense was playing, if you looked at the individual offensive pieces, the Jets have a great supporting cast. The one thing that was going to be missing was the quarterback play. Looks like they solved that with Mike White. Literally, 27 pass attempts into this season. He has 1 fewer passing touchdown than Zach Wilson. I don't think Mike White is some great NFL quarterback, but I think Zach Wilson was so damn bad. And I repeat, so bad that he was just holding back Garrett Wilson. This is a wide receiver that with his 8 targets in this game, he comes away with 5 receiving yards and the receiving touchdown. 2 receiving touchdowns. Elijah Moore really wasn't used at all. Elijah Moore had 2 targets. Look at the snaps Elijah Moore played and tell me this is someone that you're actually concerned about long term. What we really need to focus in on is the fact that Garrett Wilson goes from a wide receiver that had all the talent in the world and was getting volume to now all of a sudden, this is a wide receiver that actually has some real touchdown upside because of his quarterback. Now going over to someone that's just screams touchdown upside. Christian Watson has 6 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks. Christian Watson, with his 12 receptions over the past 3 weeks, similar to what Godwin gives you in a single weeks, has 6 touchdowns. Now, I'm no mathematician, right? But I'm going to get this out here. Let's divide 12 by 6. Every 2 receptions, like I said, I'm no mathematician, but we can do this. Every 2 receptions, Christian Watson has been scoring a touchdown. That does not seem like it should be possible. Now, I will say, Christian Watson, someone we bet on in best ball. Christian Watson, a wide receiver that, oh my gosh, I am rooting for this to continue to happen. If somehow you're not past your trade deadline yet, maybe he could be a sell high option. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I don't see how Aaron Rodgers could get worse this season compared to what he has been. But to be fair here, like we said, touchdown volatility is a real thing. We could see this go in the other direction. We could see maybe some targets not lead to a touchdown. We could see Christian Watson maybe get, his next 6 receptions with 0 touchdowns, and you're looking at a stat line that is not close to being a wide receiver that you should put in your starting lineup. You're going to get Romeo Doubs back soon. You have Allen Lazard getting targets. You have Randall Cobb getting targets. You have Aaron Jones getting targeted. I am really hoping that Christian Watson is turning into the Amon-Ra St. Brown of this season. But it does seem like we're just getting lucky with some touchdown variance. I'm hoping that he continues it. But if you're not past your trade deadline, I think we should probably look to see what we could get in trade. Still an exciting player, still a very good player, and he should be moving up your rankings. Obviously, it all just comes down to the actual price. But I think that's all I got for you. Of course, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, please go down there, drop a like. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. And if you want to check out any of these player props, or you want to go access the free Patrick Mahomes over-under this week against the Cincinnati Bengals in a very exciting game, make sure you go to the link in the comment section, the link in the description. Sign up for Underdog. Use promo code FLOCK, and they'll also match your first deposit when you sign up, dollar for dollar, up to $200. Thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and hope we get to see you in the live stream tonight.